I'm going to show you how to make this picture frame using a handsaw and miter box, and then some glue and tape. The secret of this project is this piece of corner trim. It's already cut to how we need it to be, but you see how it's cut like this? It lets us use it as a picture frame. So that way you can just cut the angles on it, and then you can use it for a picture frame. Okay, so the only part that is complicated about this is paying attention to the angle that you're cutting on here. So if we're saying that the side is going to be the side, and the front, the piece that we have facing down, is going to be the downward spot, we need to cut a 45 going this way. So I'm going to line up my saw here, and I'm just going to line it up with the 45, and I'm going to make that cut. So now I have a 45 cut. Again, this is what we're saying is the front, and this is what the side. You should make sure that the front, the piece, the corner here, is shorter than the top piece. The next step is to take your picture, or if you're using a mat, your mat, and mark where you need to cut next. Instead of marking based off this corner here, I'm marking based off this inner corner. This is actually going to be the corner on the outside. And so what you do is you take your picture or your mat and you line it up based on that corner. And then I mark where I need to cut it over here on the left. So that's right here is where I've made my mark. That way we know that when we cut it, the edges, the picture frame will hold in the picture. I cut it this direction last time, so now I need to cut it this direction. So I'm using this one over here. Now the tip that you can use to see if you're lined up correctly is to put your saw into the miter box and line it up there. So that way you don't have to transfer your mark. You can see that it's right on the pencil mark. That way you don't have to transfer your mark up to the top. It's just right there. So the problem that happens is that once you've made this cut, you're now left with an angle that you can't use. So this is the side and this is the front. So you're gonna have a little bit of waste. So the next step is to just make that cut again so that you can get rid of that waste and that you can start making your next piece. So now that I've made that cut, you can see that the side and the front, it now lines up. So if I take my other piece, I can stick it on here and it lines up to make an actual frame. So once you've made your first one, once you have your first piece, what you should do is don't take it and put it into the one like this and mark here. You'll be off by the amount of the spacing of like the width of the wall. Don't do that. What you should do instead is take your piece. If I take my piece that I've finished cutting and I flip it around so that it makes a point like this, then I flip it again so that the points come together here. I can mark the part where I want to cut right here, right where that's at. And then I want to cut this angle going this direction. So then that will turn out to be this piece. So you have two that are connected, and we've cut at this other end over here. If you were to put it inside like this, line up the corner over here, this corner over here is longer, so that doesn't work. So then to get your other pieces, just need to repeat the process. Just need to make sure you cut the angle that you'd start off with here. Measurement first. So again, measure the inner corner here to the inner corner over here, and then cut again. Okay, time for glue up. This part can be a little bit tedious. So just take a note of what your top pieces are and what your side pieces are, because you gotta put them in order, right? So I'm gonna start off with the top piece, and I'm gonna keep it so where the side is facing down and the front is facing towards me. So we should always have our pieces in this orientation, right? So what you need to do is take a little bit of tape. You don't really need too much, just a little bit. And I'm going to just stick the tape just like this. Then you're gonna take your side piece, so this is the top, this is the side, and make sure you orient it right. And put it in just like that. So what this is doing is it's allowing us to take this tape and fold it up just like this. So when we get all 4 of them done, it will be a box, you know, it will go together. So now that we all have these taped, I'm going to actually flip them over. Now, the one problem is that you're gonna have to get the glue into the crack itself. And that can be also pretty tedious. So I'm gonna use a paper plate. Actually, I have some glue stuff I'm gonna use, but you can use a paper plate and some Q-tips to work the glue into the joint. So just get yourself your little paper plate and your Q-tips and just put a little bit of glue in there. You do not need very much. If you put too much, there'll be squeeze out and you'll have to clean that up. Again, this is a really delicate piece, so the less you have to clean up, the better. Get a little bit of glue and then go to all the joints and just put a little bit of glue on it. And then don't forget to do both of the edges because you'll be gluing those up, or both of the end pieces, I should say. Okay, so now I'm done with my glue. So I'm gonna just push all this back. I'm gonna start folding in. So fold in your corners. And again, just be delicate. And then I just like to squeeze all of my pieces in, just so that way that I know that they're getting a good bond. And then when I squeeze them in, I'm gonna go ahead and hold it and pull the tape in. That will kind of help set it so where it is kind of clamping. That's the whole function of the tape, is to be little clamps for you. And that's it, you're pretty much done. You could flip it over if you wanted to check to see if there's any squeeze out. Because I'm on a table, I'm looking at where the joints were sitting and I don't see any. So at this point, you're done. Once the glue is dried, you can come in and finish it. You'll need to sand it because it is unfinished wood. You need to sand it and put your own finish on there. I'll show you how to do that in just a little bit. I got it out of the tape. Is first, I'm gonna try to reinforce it a little bit. I don't know if this is gonna make any difference, but I'm gonna take a bit of glue and we're gonna put it right here in the corners. So if you look here, there's a little bit of a gap. I'm just gonna take the glue and fill it in just a little bit. Okay, so I got the glue in the corners. To finish this, I'm just gonna take a sandpaper block and I'm just gonna go over it with the sandpaper block. Mainly paying attention to the front right here, just to make sure that this is perfectly smooth, and then the corners. Sanding it a little bit will help hide the imperfections. Should also note, I'm using 120 grit sandpaper. Also, when sanding, this is gonna make a lot of small dust particles. It's important to wear a mask or to go outside. Okay, so next I'm going to be finishing the frame. I've sanded it, it's ready to go. Any finish that you have will work, but before you finish it, a tip that you can do is to take a rag that you have and just wipe it down. This will get rid of the dust. There's a little fine layer of dust on it from when you were sanding it, and just helps get rid of it. Okay, so you got your frame finished. Last step is to add a backer. This helps just keep the picture in. I'm not using any glass, I don't have any glass for it, but I'm just gonna use some hardboard. This is an 1/8 inch hardboard. If you don't have this, just use cardboard. It will work just fine. Just cut it to size and then we'll get it tacked in. Okay, so I got my backer cut. It just fits right in. So the only tip that I have left for you is to tack this in so it doesn't move, is just to use some hot glue. Just put hot glue in the corners and every so often, and then it will stay in just fine. And there you have it, a picture frame. This picture is a picture of where I first met my wife. I got it for her for our 1-year anniversary for the paper, and I thought I would just put it into a picture frame.